Okay, so excuse the missing shaders. Um, there were just a couple of examples from this project that I wanted to show you how we go about. Um, this is a sort of a very spaghetti-looking animator. At this stage, a lot of these things could be cleaned up and put into substates, but it's at least simple to see what is happening here. These are jump states, so they can be activated from any state, meaning that at any point, if you press spacebar, this needs to activate the transition. So here, there's some parameters here. So it's those parameters are just there to differentiate between whether you're doing a backflip or a forward jump or a hop or whatever. But essentially, it's this jumping trigger that it's allowing it to start that action. Um, Idle is the default state here, but we can clearly see that there's transitions and then parameters that need to be in place for it to transition between one and the other. Some less obvious transitions happen within states, so these are all just regular clips, but some of these are actual blend trees. Okay, so when you see that blend tree component, it means that there are more states inside of that animation state. The blend trees are places where you can put animations that are related or rely on each other to some extent. So what this one is doing is actually blending between various idols and allows you to sort of randomize the idle animation so that the character can at any point like idle in a different way, or if it was sort of an emote UI that you wanted to like quickly do this emote and then transition back to idle, or do this emote and then transition back to idle. You have this freeform directional control. You get simpler blend trees, so if I go perhaps to just create an empty one over here. Oh, sorry. Create a blend tree. You can also do linear blend trees. So the moment that I add a few animations, you can do a blend tree over a single parameter, and you can also set the default value to be in the middle of that, so that it can either go to the left and then transition to that side. So it's kind of like if a character was needed to like look in that direction or then look in that direction. So another way of looking at a blend tree would be to think of it as a sort of a top-down positional diagram. So if for example you wanted this character to move in move forward, then that would be mapped to the y values, or in this case it's the z value of your blend tree, and moving backwards. So it's almost like you're seeing its movement from a top-down perspective, and left would be left strafing and right would be right strafing. So that gives your character a lot of sort of movement capabilities from top down because of the mapping of these animations. And what's nice about it as well is you can see as it's transitioning or moving between these animations that it's highlighting the ones that it's lending the movement information from. So that's very cool if your animations can sync like that, because then you have a very wide gamut of movement without too many transitions. So for example, here's a walk sideways or at an angle diagonally without having any clip in the diagonal section. So it's just by blending strafing and forward that you kind of get that diagonal strafe. So yeah, that's blend trees are very powerful, and this is kind of like what we're moving into next. You also have the additional layering of animations. So if you wanted to have some of these locomotion animations running for the legs or the bottom part of your character, and you wanted him to hold a gun in the upper part of it, you could have a combat layer of sorts. And I think I just deleted it on the other one, but you could just add another layer. Let me do this for now, and just say animations, animation, sorry, that's not the animation pack. Which one would work? Backflip uppercut or the Gundam style one. Let's pop that into the top layer, and let's, which one is this? Is still climbing stairs. Okay, so now we can have climbing stairs. Okay, so climbing stairs along with actually this is overriding, okay, because there's no masking happening here, and it is also set to override. You can have it additive, but normally, so now he's trying to climb stairs and dance at the same time. All right, it's messing things up because obviously like shoulders and things don't want to have both animations like pushing it in a direction. You end up getting this sort of amplified or distorted bodies. But if you wanted to make a mask for that, that's also fairly simple. You would just go about animation, create avatar mask. So if you go upper body, and that's also something when you're sourcing animation that you can keep in mind, that your animations don't necessarily need to be foolproof. If the legs aren't working but the upper body's working, then you can still use them, or vice versa. So now that I have an upper body mask, I just need to tell it that it shouldn't be using any of the lower components of this for this mask, and then I can go and put the mask on yeah, for the lower part. So now he's going to be climbing stairs all the way until I tell it to like maybe slowly but surely start breaking into Gundam style. Yes, a little bit, and then a little bit more. You can actually change weights in real time. I don't know why it's not, why it keeps on having to pause and replay. What you can't do is swap out masks in real time. So what you would probably have is, if you do need to swap out masks, or if you want like this upper body mask to, or this upper body layer to take over what's happening on the bottom layer, you would probably have to add another layer that's not masked, that syncs up to the lower ones. But we'll get into more detail on that later on. It's just in terms of sourcing animations, keep in mind that you can split the top and bottom half of the character. Well, for that matter, you can split any of these components. So you could also just do left or right-handed animations. So now it's only doing like a half-assed Gundam style. All right.